Welcome to the channel for another exciting video. Most people who watch our videos are not subscribed, so I kindly ask you to subscribe and activate notifications so you don't miss any new content. Your like is essential for YouTube to understand that this content is relevant, so please like, share, and leave your comment. Now, let's get to the story. Luke parked his modest car on the sidewalk in front of the simple inn he had chosen as a temporary shelter in Aspen Creek. The contrast was striking. Around him, imposing mansions rose like sentinels of an opulent elite, their bright facades reflecting the morning sunlight. Luxury cars passed by, gleaming in their vibrant colors, while elegantly dressed men and women moved with the confidence of those who belong to this world. He sighed, feeling a mix of admiration and discomfort. With a backpack on his back and a curious look, Luke walked down the street. The aroma of fresh coffee drew him into a small cafe, a place that felt more accessible amidst the surrounding glamour. Upon entering, he noticed the atmosphere was cozy, with wooden tables and walls decorated with old photographs of the town. However, as he approached the counter, the customer's gazes shifted away, as if he were a ghost. "A coffee, please," Luke requested, trying to maintain a friendly smile. The barista, a middle-aged man with messy hair, seemed more interested in cleaning the coffee machine than serving the new customer. "One moment," the barista murmured, without meeting Luke's gaze. He observed a group of customers at a nearby table, laughing and chatting animatedly, as if the newcomer were not there. Luke felt a knot form in his stomach, but decided not to give up. "Hey, everyone. How are you?" He tried to interact, but the responses were only whispers and disdainful looks. Finally, Joe, the owner of the cafe, appeared, noticing the situation. He had a warm smile and a compassionate look. "Sorry about that," Joe said as he approached Luke. "Here you'll find good coffee and a friendly atmosphere. You can call me Joe." "Luke," he replied, relieved. "I'm just trying to fit in." Joe nodded, understanding what Luke was feeling. Aspen Creek can be a tough place for those who don't belong to the elite, but feel free. Here you will always be welcome. As Luke sipped his coffee, the cafe door opened, and an elegant couple entered. Charles and Catherine, known for their blunt opinions and haughty demeanor, immediately caught Luke's attention. Dressed in designer clothes and exuding arrogance, they approached the counter and, as they passed by Luke, exchanged disdainful glances. "Look, Catherine, what we have here. A misfit," Charles said with a sarcastic smile. "Did you come to Aspen Creek just to see the mansions, or are you planning to move into one of them?" Catherine laughed, her eyes sparkling with contempt. "Maybe he's here to learn how to dress like an adult," she teased, as they walked away, laughing at their own comment. Luke felt the heat of humiliation rise to his face, but he took a deep breath and remained calm. He knew he didn't need to let those words affect him. "They can think whatever they want," he murmured to himself, looking at Joe, who was watching the scene with a look of pity. "Unfortunately, this happens often," Joe said, noticing Luke's expression. "But don't let it get to you. Often, the richest people are the ones who need to learn the most about value and respect. It's easy for them to ignore those who don't fit the mold," Luke replied, looking out the window as the couple walked away. "But I'm not here to fit in. I have a mission." Joe smiled, admiring Luke's determination. "And that mission may be more powerful than you imagine. One day, Aspen Creek might understand that true value lies not in wealth but in the connections we make." Luke nodded, feeling a small flame of hope ignite in his heart. He knew the journey would be difficult, but he was prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. Luke was increasingly feeling out of place in Aspen Creek, a town where ostentation and exclusivity seemed to dictate the rules. After a cold reception at the local cafe where his efforts to engage with the locals were ignored, he sat at a table in the corner, observing the frantic movement of the place. The aroma of fresh coffee hung in the air, but he had no appetite for anything other than the idea of belonging that eluded him. Joe, the cafe owner, was a robust man with a graying beard and a warm smile. He noticed Luke sitting alone, his shoulders slumped and his gaze lost. With a gentle gesture, Joe approached the table. "Hey, kid, you look like a fish out of water here. What brings you to Aspen Creek?" he asked, with a voice that carried the weight of wisdom and the lightness of friendliness. "I'm just trying to find my place," Luke replied, a bit hesitantly. Actually, I'm looking for ways I can help the community. Joe raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Helping the community, huh? That's something rare around here. Most people are more concerned about their bank accounts than their neighbors. Luke smiled, recognizing the truth in the man's words. I know, but I believe small acts can make a big difference. And if I can, I want to do something good for the people. Joe nodded, admiring Luke's determination. Look, if you're willing to work and learn, I can offer you a job here at the cafe. It's not much, but it's a start. I would love that, Luke replied, feeling a wave of gratitude for that unexpected gesture. Thank you, Joe. That means a lot to me. In the days that followed, Luke dedicated himself to working at the cafe, learning the art of making coffee and serving customers with a smile. Joe became not only a mentor, but also a friend. During breaks, they talked about life, challenges, and the small victories that made everything worthwhile. You know, Luke, Joe said in one of those moments while they were cleaning the counter, sometimes it's the little acts, like serving a coffee with a smile, that can change someone's day. Never underestimate the impact you can have. Do you really believe that? Luke asked, curious. Absolutely. Life is made up of connections. If you can touch one person, it's already worth it, Joe replied, looking into Luke's eyes with sincerity. Inspired by these conversations, Luke began to sketch an idea. One night, while organizing some donation boxes in the back of the cafe, he had an epiphany. He turned to Joe, who was having a snack. What if we organized a charity event, something that involved the community and helped people in need? Luke asked, his voice filled with excitement. Joe stopped chewing, thoughtful. That's a great idea, but you know that the city elite might not look at it favorably. They're not exactly interested in helping those who are down. I know, but maybe it's time to change that. We need to show them that the community is stronger when everyone helps each other, Luke insisted, his gaze determined. Joe sighed, realizing the passion burning inside Luke. If you're willing to face that resistance, I'll stand by your side. But be prepared because it won't be easy. I'm ready for the challenge, Luke asserted, determination shining through his voice. Let's do this. As the days passed, Luke and Joe began planning the event, dreaming of a more united and supportive Aspen Creek. The idea of a better future for the community finally seemed within reach. For the first time since he had arrived in town, Luke felt that he was starting to find his place. Luke walked through the dusty shelves of the local library, contemplating the books that seemed more alive than the people around him. He felt like an outsider in Aspen Creek, a place where appearances and social status defined who you are. However, upon spotting a group of young people sitting at the reading table, his eyes sparkled with hope. They were engaged in an animated discussion, gesturing and laughing, and Luke decided to approach. Can I join you? He asked, a bit hesitantly. A young woman with curly hair and a determined expression looked up and smiled. It was Emma, an idealistic student who always believed that change was possible, even in such an elitist town. Of course, we're talking about some ideas to help the community, she replied, gesturing for Luke to sit next to her. The other young people, a diverse and energetic group, welcomed him. Luke introduced himself and began sharing his experiences. With each word, he realized he had found a group that didn't see him as an outsider, but as a valuable piece that could help transform Aspen Creek. What do you think we can do? Asked one of the guys, named Alex, leaning forward, interested. I was thinking of organizing a social initiative, something that could really impact the people living here, Luke said, his voice gaining confidence. Emma nodded, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. That's amazing. We could do a food drive or even an awareness event. The town needs to know that there are people struggling and that we can do something about it. The group began discussing ideas, and the energy in the room turned into a true brainstorming session. Luke felt increasingly excited about the possibility of making a difference. However, the joy of the meeting was interrupted by an unwelcome presence. Charles and Catherine, the influential couple who had mocked Luke at the cafe, entered the library. With disdainful looks, they approached the group. Look, if it isn't the Misfit Club, Charles sneered with a sarcastic smile. What are you guys planning, a craft fair for the poor? Actually, we're thinking of something that could help the community, Emma replied, challenging Charles's contemptuous gaze. Oh, sure, an initiative to give you all a little attention. As if that would change anything, Catherine said, crossing her arms. Luke felt the tension rise. He wanted to stand up and confront the two, but instead, he took a deep breath and remained calm. It's not about attention, it's about making a difference, he said, his voice firm. Every little act counts, and we're trying to create a space where everyone can feel included. Charles let out a cynical laugh. Good luck with that, a CEO of the poor. You're not going to change anyone's mindset here. Catherine joined him, and the two walked away, leaving a trail of disdain. Luke looked at the young people, who seemed discouraged. Don't worry about them. What we're doing is important, he said, trying to lift the group's spirits. If we have courage and determination, we can show Aspen Creek that true wealth lies in human connections. Emma smiled, encouraging the group to continue. Let's meet again tomorrow and map out a plan. We can't let people like them demotivate us. And so, the meeting turned into a moment of unity. Luke realized that even in a place that seemed so hostile, there was a space for hope and change. He finally felt at home, surrounded by those who shared his vision of a better future for Aspen Creek. The big charity event was about to take place at the elegant event hall in town, a space adorned with shining chandeliers and tables carefully arranged with immaculate white linens. Luke, although a bit nervous, decided he needed to participate. The elite of Aspen Creek always held these grand events, but he felt it was his chance to make his voice heard, to show that there was a side of the town that was not being considered. As he entered the venue, Luke felt the guests' gazes turn toward him. Dressed simply, he contrasted even more with the luxurious outfits of others. He took a deep breath, trying to ignore the whispers around him. Soon he spotted Charles and Catherine, the couple who had mocked him in the cafe, surrounded by an animated group of influential people. They were the center of attention, and Luke knew that wasn't going to change anytime soon. Look who decided to show up, Charles said with a sarcastic smile as he approached Luke. The misfit of the town. Did you come to bring your coins for charity? He gestured exaggeratedly, as if making a joke, and some of the guests laughed. Luke, on maintaining his composure, replied, Actually, I'm here to support the community. We all have something to offer. His voice was calm, but there was a determination that went beyond what his words expressed. Catherine, with a disdainful look, interrupted. Oh dear, do you really think your help is going to change anything? The elite of the town already does so much. What do you have to offer that could compete with that? She pointed to the generous donations being collected in a corner of the hall, where wealthy people gathered around a table adorned with exotic flowers. Luke felt a wave of indignation, but he didn't let it overwhelm him. Changes start small. Every contribution counts, and it's not just about money but about intention and effort. You may not see the value now, but it's there, waiting to be discovered. Charles laughed again, but this time his laughter was less confident. Ah, yes, the good intentions of the misfit. I just hope you're not here to beg. He patted Luke on the back, a gesture that could be interpreted as a friendly attempt, but was actually more a form of humiliation. Don't worry, Charles, Luke replied, now with a slight smile. I'm just here to remind you that we all have responsibilities to our community, regardless of our social standing. As the conversation continued, Luke moved away a bit, trying to focus on why he was there. He observed the guests, noticing the disconnection between them and the challenges many residents of Aspen Creek faced. The contrast was glaring, and he knew he needed to do something about it. During the event, Luke decided to approach the donation table. He took an envelope he had prepared in advance, containing his contribution. As he approached, Charles saw him and Bao, with an arrogant smile, made a joke to the others at the table. Look, the misfit brought his donation. I hope it's not just pocket change for lunch. Laughter spread among the guests, but Luke remained firm. He opened the envelope and, instead of responding with words, let his actions speak for themselves. Here's my donation. It's not much, but it represents my commitment to this town and its community. Silence filled the space for a moment before Luke slowly stepped away. He didn't want to get involved in a back and forth of insults. The serenity he showed, even under disdain, intrigued those present. As he walked away, some people began to whisper among themselves, their expressions slowly changing from scorn to curiosity. Luke knew he had planted a seed of reflection that night, and this was just the beginning of his journey in Aspen Creek. The streets of Aspen Creek were quiet that sunny morning, but a wave of turmoil was about to sweep through the town. Luke, who had quietly established himself in the community, saw his life change radically in the blink of an eye. A bombshell report was about to be released in one of the region's major newspapers, and what it would reveal would leave many speechless. Meanwhile, Luke was at Joe's cafe, serving coffee and chatting with customers. The atmosphere was light, and he felt more at home than ever. The cafe door creaked open, and a group of people entered, quickly taking a table at the back. Luke didn't pay much attention until one of the regular customers, an elderly man named Mr. Thompson, panicked upon seeing the headlines on his phone screen. "Did you see this, Luke? What's happening?" Mr. Thompson stammered, eyes wide as he showed Luke the screen. "Are you the CEO of one of the largest sustainable tech startups in the country?" Luke raised an eyebrow, surprised and a bit confused. "What? That can't be true. Look at this," Mr. Thompson exclaimed, handing the phone to Luke. The words, "Luke Johnson, the anonymous CEO now in Aspen Creek," shone on the screen. The cafe fell silent, all eyes turning to Luke. He felt the weight of expectation, but also the pressure of judgment. What would people think now? Joe approached, concerned but also intrigued. "Luke, this is incredible. You never mentioned anything about being a CEO. I didn't come here for that, Joe. I came to help, not to be a subject of gossip," Luke replied, trying to stay calm. Outside, the town began to react. Charles and Catherine, the influential couple who had mocked Luke in the cafe, were in their luxury car, listening to the news on the radio. "Incredible. That misfit is a CEO? How is that possible?" Charles growled, his face red with anger. Catherine shook her head, trying to process the information. "I always knew there was something off about him," Catherine said with a sarcastic smile. "And now he's going to embarrass us even more. What will the others think of us?" Charles Découvrez, recovering from the surprise, replied, "We need to act fast. We can't let this spread. We need to discredit him before he becomes a prominent figure here." Meanwhile, in the cafeteria, the news spread like wildfire. Residents began to enter, one by one, to see Luke. Curiosity quickly turned into a series of questions. "Is it true, Luke? Are you a CEO? Why didn't you tell us before? What are you going to do now?" Luke took a deep breath and raised his hands, asking for calm. "Guys, I didn't mean to hide anything from you. I came to help the community, not to be a figurehead." "But you have the power to make a real difference," said a young woman named Emma, who was among the curious. "Imagine what you could do for Aspen Creek." "Yes, but I don't want this to become a competition between social classes," Luke replied, feeling a bit overwhelmed. "I want us all to work together." Supportive voices began to rise, but not without interruption from Charles and Catherine, who entered the cafeteria with an air of disdain. "Look who decided to show up," Charles said with a scornful tone. "The big CEO who now thinks he's better than all of us." Luke turned to them, having expected this kind of reaction. "Actually, Charles, I'm not better than anyone. I'm here to help, and I hope you're willing to do the same." Catherine crossed her arms and smiled sarcastically. "Just remember, Luke, that not everyone is so eager to hear your ideas. You may have your title, but the elite will always have the final word in Aspen Creek." The tension in the room increased, eyes alternating between Luke and the couple. But Luke, instead of being provoked, maintained his composure. He knew change was on the way, and the town was about to transform. What he didn't know was how quickly that would happen, and how much the subsequent events would affect him and the community he had come to love so much. Luke was at his inn, sitting at the table, watching the town of Aspen Creek through the window. The day was clear, and the sunlight reflected off the luxurious mansions surrounding the small inn. He had become a landmark in the town, but the revelation of his true identity still hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Since the report identifying him as the CEO of one of the largest sustainable tech startups in the USA, the town had been in an uproar. Curious residents began knocking on the door of his inn, eager to understand his intentions. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. Luke got up and opened the door, finding a group of 5 residents, all with expressions of anxiety and expectation. "Hi, Luke. Can we come in?" asked a middle-aged woman with a hopeful look. "Of course. Make yourselves at home," Luke replied, gesturing for them to enter. "What can I do for you?" The residents sat around the small table, some nervous, others more confident. An older man with gray hair and a tired expression spoke first. We just want to understand what you plan to do for our town. It's not every day that someone like you shows up here." "That's true," added a young woman, Emma, whom Luke recognized from the library. "There's been a lot of talk about what you can offer, but there are also concerns. The town elite hasn't had the best attitude so far." "I understand your concerns," Luke said sincerely. "When I arrived here, I realized that Aspen Creek is a place full of potential. My goal is to help the community. But that will only work if we work together." Eyes met, and a wave of relief washed over the group. "But how do you plan to do that?" asked the middle-aged woman cautiously. "I want to invest in projects that really make a difference. A community center, for example, where everyone can gather, share ideas, and develop initiatives that benefit the town as a whole," Luke explained enthusiastically. "But what about the elite?" asked the gray-haired man. "You know that many of them aren't interested in helping those in need." "Yes, I know," Luke replied firmly. "But for real change to happen, we need collaboration from all sectors. The elite may have their interests, but the community also plays a crucial role in this process. Let's show them that inclusion and empathy are more powerful than prejudice." Luke's words had an almost magical effect on those present. Emma, with shining eyes, said, "If you can earn the community's trust, maybe we can do something together. We can organize a meeting with all the residents, discuss ideas and priorities." "Yes, that's a great idea," exclaimed another young woman in the group. "We need a space where everyone can feel comfortable speaking and sharing their concerns." Luke smiled, feeling inspired by the determination of those young people. "Let's do it then. I commit to being present and listening to what everyone has to say. And if the elite opposes it, we will unite and show them that the strength of the community is unshakable." "And what about Charles and Catherine?" asked the gray-haired man, with a tone of frustration. "They won't accept this easily. I know they have their reservations, but it's time to open our eyes and see what really matters. If they want to apologize, they will have to do it genuinely," Luke replied calmly. "And we will show them that Aspen Creek can be a better place if we are all willing to work together." The conversation continued, filled with ideas and hopes. Luke realized that even amidst challenges, the community was willing to come together and fight for a better future. What once seemed like an obstacle was now transforming into an invitation to action. They were ready to face the elite and claim their space, and Luke was determined to lead the way. Luke sat at Joe's cafeteria table, a place that had now become his refuge. The aroma of fresh coffee mixed with the soft sound of conversations in the background created a welcoming atmosphere. He looked at Joe, who was cleaning a cup, and said, "I think it's time to take a bigger step. Let's do something that really impacts Aspen Creek." Joe paused for a moment, his eyes shining with curiosity. "What do you have in mind, Luke?" "I want to propose the creation of a community innovation and inclusion center. A place where people from all social classes can come together, share ideas, and develop projects that benefit the town," Luke explained, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "That's a great idea, but you know the elite of Aspen Creek won't like this. Charles and Catherine will do everything to sabotage it," Joe replied, skeptical. "I know, but if we don't try, we'll never know what we're capable of. We need to show them that the community can be stronger when everyone works together," Luke insisted, already visualizing what it could be. That afternoon, as Luke and Joe discussed details, Emma entered the cafeteria, her eyes shining with the same passion Luke had seen in the library. "Hey guys, what's going on?" "Luke had an amazing idea," Joe said, smiling. "He wants to create a community innovation and inclusion center. What do you think?" Emma lit up. "That's fantastic. We need a space where we can come together and work on our initiatives. I've always believed that change starts with collaboration." "Exactly," Luke exclaimed. "But I need your help. You and the youth need to lead this. You have the ideas and the energy. I can help with the resources, but we need the community's passion to make this happen." Emma looked at Luke, amazed. "Do you really believe we can do this?" "I not only believe it, but I'm counting on you. Together, we can show that Aspen Creek is not just about wealth and status, but about unity and mutual support." With renewed enthusiasm, Luke organized a meeting with the youth group at the library. The space was filled with energy and expectations. "Everyone," Luke began, "I want you all to feel free to share your ideas about what we should include in the center. This is a space for all of us." The young people began to raise their hands, each more excited than the last. "We can have entrepreneurship classes," suggested a young man. "And a space for art and culture," Emma said, her eyes shining. As the meeting was in full swing, the door burst open. Charles and Catherine entered, disdainful expressions on their faces. "Look who we have here," Charles mocked, the misfit and his friends trying to change the world. "This is going to work out, right?" "We're just discussing ideas for the community, Charles," Luke replied, keeping calm. "Contrary to what you think, everyone has a role to play here." Catherine crossed her arms, laughing. "Do you really think people will care about this? They prefer lavish parties and events, not an inclusion center." "Sorry, but you're wrong," Emma interjected, determined. "People want a place where they can feel valued and heard. We're here to make a difference." "Difference? That's laughable," Charles said, shaking his head. "You have no idea what you're getting into." But Luke, determined, would not be shaken. "If you don't believe in us, Charles, that's fine. But we'll be here, making this happen. And who knows, maybe one day you'll see the value in it." After Charles and Catherine left, the room was filled with murmurs and looks of determination. Luke smiled at Emma and the others. "Let's move forward. Change starts here and now." With the support of Joe and the youth group, Luke began planning the Community Innovation and Inclusion Center. They met frequently, discussing details about the space, activities, and necessary resources. The enthusiasm was contagious, and the idea of creating a place where everyone felt welcome was becoming more and more real. "We need a space that represents Aspen Creek in its essence," Luke said in one of the meetings. "A place where people can learn, create, and connect." "How about a mentoring program?" Emma suggested. "We can involve professionals from the town to help the youth develop their skills." "Great idea, Emma. That would bring a sense of community and mutual learning," Luke replied, excited. Thus, the plans began to take shape, and Luke's vision was coming to life, with everyone involved uniting toward a common goal: to make Aspen Creek a better place for everyone. Aspen Creek was undergoing a visible and tangible transformation. The community center, envisioned by Luke, was beginning to come to life, constantly filled with laughter, animated conversations, and the sound of tools and equipment being used in innovative projects. The atmosphere was one of collaboration and hope. On a sunny morning, Luke was at the center, watching a group of young programmers, led by Emma, working on an app that would connect residents to community resources. He approached, smiling at their energy. "This is amazing, Emma," exclaimed Luke, lightly patting the young woman's back. "What do you think of the progress?" "We're doing really well," Emma replied, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "People are getting involved, and ideas are flowing." "I never thought we would see so much participation. That's what I've always believed," Luke said, with a tone of satisfaction. "The community has immense potential, and you all are showing it." Meanwhile, on the other side of the center, Charles and Catherine were watching the activity. The change they were facing was palpable. Charles, who had once held an aloof demeanor, now felt somewhat out of place. He looked at Catherine and said hesitantly, "Do you think they will really accept our contributions?" Catherine, with a serious expression, replied, "We need to show that we are willing to change, Charles. What we did in the past cannot be erased. But we have a chance to redeem ourselves." "You're right," he agreed, taking a deep breath. "It's time to set aside our prejudices." In the days that followed, their presence at the center became more consistent. Charles began to get involved in small projects, helping organize events and offering his business expertise to help structure initiatives. He found himself in conversations with young people he would have previously ignored, and with each interaction, he felt a little more empathy blossoming within him. "I never thought I would enjoy working with you all," he remarked in a meeting, a shy smile on his face. "But it's surprising to see the passion everyone has for what they do." One of the young people, Max, who was sitting across from him, responded with a wide smile. "And it's surprising to see you here. We're all learning from each other." Meanwhile, Catherine decided to lead an educational program at the center, aimed at young people with learning difficulties. She felt nervous, but determined to make a difference. In her first meeting, she looked at the students, a diverse group of teenagers, and said, "Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you. I want you to know that this is a safe space where everyone can learn and grow. A student named Lucia raised her hand hesitantly but with courage. What if we don't understand something? Catherine smiled, remembering her own insecurities. That's normal. Here, we'll learn together. Don't feel pressured to be perfect. The important thing is that we support each other. Catherine's words resonated in the hearts of the young people, and the room filled with a renewed sense of hope. They were ready to embrace change. As the weeks went by, the center began to establish itself as a true symbol of unity in Aspen Creek. The walls that had once been cold and empty were now adorned with the young people's artwork, and the aroma of fresh coffee mingled with the sound of discussions about projects and dreams. One afternoon, while Luke was organizing an event to celebrate the center's achievements, he encountered Charles and Catherine, who were helping prepare the materials. "It's great to see you so involved," Luke commented, observing their efforts. "We're learning," Charles replied with a sincere air. "That's more important than anything we've ever done." Catherine nodded, looking at the young people getting ready to present their ideas. "And seeing their passion motivates us to be better." Luke smiled, feeling that the seeds of change were truly sprouting in Aspen Creek. The spirit of collaboration was spreading, and he knew that together they were shaping not only the future of the town but also that of each of its residents. Luke was sitting on the cafe's porch, watching the quiet movement of the town of Aspen Creek. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the mansions and trees lining the streets. He took a deep breath, feeling that he had finally found his place in an environment that had initially felt so hostile. Beside him, Joe was preparing fresh coffee, the aroma filling the air. "Do you remember how it all started?" Joe asked, placing the pitcher on the table. Luke smiled, his eyes shining. "How could I forget? I arrived here being ignored, and now, well, now everything is different. Look at this town. People are coming together. Yes, and you played a key role in that." "Your determination inspired many," Joe replied, looking at the young people passing by, laughing and chatting excitedly. "Emma and the others are really taking things seriously. It's true. Their vision is contagious. I just hope they stay strong." "What we've done so far is just the beginning," Luke said thoughtfully. "But there's still a lot to be done." That night, Emma organized an event to celebrate the community's achievements. The lights were on, and the energy in the air was palpable. Luke was nervous but also excited. He remembered Joe's words about the importance of empathy and how that could shape relationships in the town. "Luke, are you okay?" Emma asked, noticing his apprehension as they arranged the chairs in the central square. "Yeah, just thinking. I guess the pressure is on. Everyone expects a lot from us. It's normal to feel that way, but remember what we've accomplished. People are here because they believe in us, in our mission. We've changed the narrative of Aspen Creek," Emma said, encouragingly, "and you are a crucial part of that change." When the event began, Luke stepped onto the stage, feeling the attentive gaze of the community. He took a deep breath, remembering how he had felt isolated and underestimated upon arriving. Now, in front of a crowd that supported his ideas, the feeling was completely different. "Good evening, everyone," he began, his voice steady. "Today we are here to celebrate not only the achievements we have reached, but also the relationships we have built. Aspen Creek is no longer a town divided by prejudices, but a place where inclusion and collaboration reign." The crowd applauded, and Luke saw familiar faces among those present. Charles and Catherine were in the front row, listening attentively. He continued, "I have learned that the true value of a community lies in human connections, in the small actions that, when combined, make a big difference. And this, my friends, is just the beginning." After his speech, Luke stepped down from the stage and joined Emma, who was surrounded by excited young people. "You were amazing," she exclaimed, smiling. "People really believe in what you said. I hope so." What surprised me the most was seeing Charles and Catherine here, really listening. "That is a sign of change," Luke commented, observing the couple who, although visibly uncomfortable, were paying attention to what was happening. Deep down, everyone has the capacity to change. Sometimes, they just need a push. Emma reflected. "And you gave that push to Aspen Creek." As the night progressed, Luke and Emma noticed a group of children having fun, running and playing. "Look at them," Luke said with a smile on his face. "They don't worry about the past. They just enjoy the present. Exactly. And that is the key. If we can pass on this sense of unity and hope to the next generation, we will have done our job. Emma replied, her voice full of determination. The event continued with music, dancing, and performances, creating a celebratory atmosphere. Luke, observing the transformation around him, felt a wave of gratitude. He knew that the road ahead was still long, but the journey they had started together was already showing results. And more importantly, the town was finally learning to value what truly mattered: empathy and mutual respect. The atmosphere was electrically charged during the celebration event in Aspen Creek. The residents, now united by a spirit of camaraderie and transformation, gathered in the new Community Innovation and Inclusion Center, decorated with colorful balloons and tables filled with homemade foods prepared by the citizens themselves. The smell of fresh bread and carrot cake filled the air as laughter and lively conversations echoed throughout the space. Luke watched from a corner, pride evident in his gaze. He was surrounded by Emma and some of the young people who had become his allies. Look how much fun people are having. I never thought I would see Aspen Creek like this, Emma said, with a radiant smile. It's amazing how everything has changed in such a short time. The community has come together in a way I never imagined possible, Luke replied, his heart warmed by the contagious energy around him. As the event went on, a growing murmur began to spread among the attendees. People pointed to the entrance, where an imposing man dressed in a designer suit was approaching. His face was familiar, but Luke couldn't immediately identify who it was. The man had a confident posture and a smile that radiated charisma. He stopped next to the makeshift stage, and everyone's gaze turned toward him. Good afternoon, Aspen Creek, the man began, his voice resonating with authority. My name is Rafael Mendonça, and I am an investor in the sustainable technology sector. A buzz of surprise swept through the room. I have been following the progress of this amazing place and the transformation it has undergone in recent months, and what I saw was nothing short of inspiring. Luke furrowed his brow, trying to remember where he knew that face from. Rafael continued, I am not here just to congratulate you. I am here to announce a significant financial investment that will expand the projects you have started. Aspen Creek deserves a chance to thrive, and I believe you can make it happen. An explosive round of applause erupted from the crowd, and Luke finally recognized Rafael as an old college colleague, someone with whom he had shared dreams and ideas about the future of technology. He felt a wave of emotion seeing a friend support the new vision for the town. Rafael. What a pleasant surprise, Luke exclaimed, climbing onto the stage. I didn't expect to see you here. How did you find out about all this? I heard through a mutual friend. I was so impressed with what you and the community are doing that I couldn't resist coming to support the cause. Inclusion and innovation are the way of the future, and Aspen Creek is leading the way, Rafael replied, looking into Luke's eyes with sincerity. This is amazing. What do you have in mind? Luke asked, his curiosity piqued. I plan to invest in technology that will benefit the community, such as digital education programs and training for young people. I want Aspen Creek not only to thrive but to inspire other communities to do the same, Rafael said, gesturing enthusiastically. The crowd was ecstatic, and applause echoed throughout the venue. Charles and Catherine, who had become active participants in the event, exchanged looks of astonishment and relief. They realized that change was not only possible but was happening right before their eyes. Let's do this together, Aspen Creek. This city is an example that, with determination and unity, we can achieve great things. We are just getting started, Rafael concluded, raising his hands in a sign of celebration. The crowd erupted in applause, cheers, and celebrations. Luke looked at Emma and the young people surrounding him, feeling the strength of the moment. Look what we have accomplished, he said, his voice choked with emotion. This is just the beginning. And so, Aspen Creek celebrated not only a new investment, but a new era, marked by inclusion, collaboration, and the certainty that, at last, the true value lay in the human connections that had been established. The city, now united, was ready for a bright future, with each resident contributing to the growth and prosperity of all. So, what did you think of this story? Your opinion is essential for us to improve our content. Please share your thoughts in the comments, and remember to subscribe and like this video. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the next video.